Zach, a lot of final preseason polls coming out over the last day or two. We got, I saw Seth Davis just put one out. I saw ESPN put one final out. Kentucky still kind of lingering is that like fringe top 10, like 8, 9, 10, 11, these, but I have yet to see anybody kind of push their chips in on this Kentucky team as a like surefire, can't miss, legitimate top 5 team. Seeing them with your own 2 eyes for the very first time this season, agree, disagree, your confidence in proving the national kind of narrative wrong about them not being a top 5 team?
Yeah, I mean, when you're debating between who's the 5th best and the 9th best, like our friend Brandon Ramsey loves to say, you're kind of just splitting hairs at that point, like when you're trying to debate the 5th best and the 9th best team in the country. So I think probably a lot of the reason that national media is hesitant is they're still maybe just not convinced that, how's Pope going to make it all work? A lot of it is going to be how can you make everyone happy? How can you keep everyone happy with so many good players, so much depth? I think everyone agrees that Kentucky's probably going to have one of the top, 2, 3, or whatever number it is, deepest teams in the country. But how does Pope make it all work? I think that's one thing maybe people are still trying to wanting to see with their own eyes, even if last season didn't really do it for them. So it's. Nothing changed, from my opinion, from seeing them in person today. It really just kind of backed up a lot of the stuff that we've been hearing and you've been reporting over like the entire summer. So, it was awesome to see that Jalen Lowe really is like kind of looking the part, and he's probably going to end up being your X factor, whatever you want to call it, in terms of how high the ceiling ends up being. Or you could say with Jaden Quains too. You could say with a lot of guys too. But Jalen Lowe's going to stir the drink. That's kind of the term that'll be thrown around with him. So. I think Kentucky being the number 9 team in the country or whatever, that's kind of poetic. Start number 9 to go get number 9. So I think
Pope-etic.
Pope. Oh, look at that. I like that. I like that a little bit. So
Edgar Allan Pope-etic.
I do like Drew's Edgar Allan.
I know it's like one off of the.
That one is pretty good. I think I might start using that one during the season and see if it sticks. We'll have to ask him about it during the season and see if he likes it. But so the top, I think ESPN had him at 9 or something like that. It's fine. It's none of it's really going to matter. It's just going to be fun to actually see. You'll know real quick how Kentucky kind of stacks up when you see that Purdue team, or how they play against them. Because Purdue's, they're going to be number 1 or 2 for a reason, because of you already kind of know the product with them. Whereas Kentucky, you're still only bringing back 4 or 5. I think 5 total guys from last season. So, and that's a lot of new faces, a lot of new freshmen, some question marks with Jaden Quains' knee. So I can understand the hesitancy of wanting to put them in the top 5 right now.
Both Smiths, I want to get your take. Watching them tonight, knowing what you know about this team, top 5 or no?
It's a top 5 roster. It's a top 5 roster with that upside and potential. When you're factoring in Otega Oweh being a part of that, and you're factoring in Jaden Quains being a part of that. I know it was Kentucky on Kentucky. It was a small sample size, but when you look at the pieces and you look at it on paper and you look at the flexibility and how Kentucky can kind of be dynamic across the board, I still am leaning on the defensive end of the floor. I think that this team and this program is going to take a significant jump in that end of the floor and in that category. Offensively, I trust what Mark Pope does, but I trust the commitment to being a national championship contender and winning number 9, and the mentality that they've put into this roster and how intentional they've been about piecing it together. You see the fight, you see the determination, you see enough returning pieces, you see the transfers and Mo Diabate, Denzel Aberdeen, those key guys that have been a part of national championship and Final Four programs. I think the blend is there that this is a top 5 roster, and when it's all put together. It might not be top 5 when they play Purdue here in a few weeks, but when the dust settles and this thing gets to February, March, I think Kentucky's going to be among the top 5, 6, 7 teams in college basketball.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'll echo everything that Shawn said. We talked about this, Jack, maybe like a month ago or something on one of the shows, but we talked about how important it is to have a roster that can win in a lot of different ways. And I personally felt like last year's team was a little bit more limited in the ways in which they could win. They needed to hit a lot of shots, and they needed some things to break for them and the matchups to be just right and stuff. I feel like this team can win in a ton of different ways. Like if shots aren't falling, I'm a lot more confident that this team can just defend their tails off and win a 69-62 game. I feel super, super confident that when a team that is built to just go and punch you in the mouth, that this team will punch them right back, or maybe, hey, be the aggressor and be the first one to punch. So we're not going to have situations like against Alabama, last year in the SEC tournament. I just feel like this team, the way this roster is built, the word that Shawn uses is intentional, which I really like, and I think Pope uses that word as well. They are very, very intentionally built to be able to win games in a lot of different ways, rebounding defensively, just shooting the lights out, scoring at will, playing really fast, but also have the ability to just lock in and batten down the hatches and defend in the half court. I do feel like this is absolutely a top 5 roster. I expect us to get there pretty quickly. Not having JQ early on is definitely a bit of a bummer because I'm so excited to see this team at full strength, but this is a top 5 roster. This is a roster that is built to go to the Final Four and win a national championship. Now we'll see if that happens, but I think tonight just confirmed a lot of what I've already heard about this team, and everything tonight was a good showcase of that.
Hey, and you haven't gotten the chance. Last week's show was awesome with the SEC power rankings. We didn't get to get your take on the SEC. I know you might not have it right in front of you, but maybe a loose SEC power rankings and where Kentucky stacks up among the best of the best in the league.
I mean, come on, we're number 1. I think we know that. I'm a homer, so I will always say Kentucky's number 1. But I mean, honestly and intentionally, I think absolutely we're built to be the deepest team in the SEC. And again, I think we're the most versatile team in the SEC. And I do have some real question marks about some other teams. Like Jack, I really liked your pick for Florida at 3rd. I think Florida's more likely to be in that 3-4 slot than they are to be in the 1 slot, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of question marks about that roster. I think Arkansas's roster is entirely dependent upon some of those diaper dandies being, kind of that top level freshman like Cal has had in the past. And I think you need to see big jumps from Knox and from Richmond and those guys as well, and DJ Wagner and stuff. So there's some more question marks there. Auburn losing Bruce Pearl, big hit. Alabama totally reworked their whole team, and we stole Mo Diabate from them. So I just think there's more question marks everywhere else, especially with some of those top teams. There's still some pretty big question marks where a year ago, those teams had a ton of continuity. You knew those teams were going to be really, really good. I don't think that those programs are in the same position this year, and I think Kentucky has only improved their position. So I've got us at number 1 pretty comfortably. But, again, a lot of it comes down to schedules and that type of stuff too. Kentucky has a pretty loaded SEC slate, so maybe that has an impact also.
You brought up concerns about other teams. What's your biggest concern about this Kentucky team? And I want to get all of our takes on after seeing them now at Pro Day. Biggest concern you have leaving the evenings. Spencer, we'll just keep rolling with you.
I had this thought. I don't know if it's the biggest concern, but it's a concern that I haven't talked about yet. At least I don't think I have. I came away with it tonight, and also just a little bit about what I've been hearing from practice. I think one concern that I have is that we don't really have a go-to guy in the paint that we can just toss the ball down to and say, hey, go get us a bucket. If anybody remembers the Elite 8 game against Notre Dame, right? Karl Towns single-handedly won the game because we just kept giving him the basketball, right? We've had a lot of instances of that. PJ Washington did it. He was that guy for a couple years and stuff. I don't know if we have a guy that I feel comfortable to say, yeah, let's run a set. Let's get him slashing down on the block, and let's toss it to him, and let's do some split actions on the outside to free up the guards, and you go and make a play, put it up high on the glass, and go get us a bucket. I just don't see us having that. When I watch like Houston and March Madness last year and stuff, like Houston had a few games, including the semifinal against Duke, where they really leaned on their bigs down low and just tossed it down there and punished teams. It'd be nice to be able to play that card, and I don't know if we have the ability to. That's one of the cards that I think might be missing from our deck. But I don't know if it's a massive concern. It's just one that I haven't really voiced yet that I'm going to be keeping an eye on.
Mine would be, it's not as much about what Kentucky's missing. It's about, it's one of those things, can you have too much of something? And I think that this would be Mark Pope's biggest challenge of his coaching career, is when you have this much talent, you have this many pieces that can play. It's a dynamic that I'm not sure he's been in. Like last year, guys received roles as the season went along because of the injuries that occurred. Like Travis Perry played significant minutes. Even Trent Noah moved in the rotation. This year, Kentucky's got guys that would play at other programs in college basketball that still may be number 9, 10, or 11th man on this roster. And I think that with that comes a challenge. And I think that that's probably the biggest concern, just because I don't think it's typically an area of basketball that Mark Pope has had to navigate. Didn't have to navigate it at BYU, didn't have to navigate that at Utah Valley. At Kentucky, when you recruit and you bring in talent like this, which is a good thing, because if you do have injuries this year, the talent drop-off isn't as significant. But it's going to be something that this staff has to at least keep in mind, is how do you keep everyone fed? How do you keep everyone on the same page of pursuing the same ultimate goal, which is to win a national championship? I trust that they can, but I do think that that is something that's probably going to be a challenge in some of these meetings where the staff goes, okay, you've got so many minutes, but man, this guy, I really want to give him a look, but gosh, this guy's playing so well. But that's the beauty of this thing, right? Competition. The cream rises to the top, and whoever it is, we know it's going to be the best of the best. But I think that that is a challenge that they will have to face as they go throughout the season, especially early on.
Let's keep on going.
I mean, concerns, I mean, it's kind of like what they were saying. It's just like maybe minor stuff that could end up being a big deal. I think I'm not really concerned about the shooting at all, but I do think the starting five could lack some like knockdown guys. You know, if Aberdeen ends up being maybe your best 3-point shooter in the starting five, you know, you might have to do some quick subbing and pull in other guys and help maybe boost up that a little bit. But again, I don't know if that's going to be a huge issue, just because all those other guys will be able to find points in other ways. But kind of bleeding into that is, we've talked about, like, you know, oh, if Colin Chandler looks like this, if Cam Williams looks like this, if Trent Noah looks like this, like some of those guys are going to have to hit. So I think you're banking on, you need a handful, at least 2 of the, you know, the 4 or 5 guys that are kind of back in that rotation have to hit and actually be, like, Colin Chandler has to be the All-American guy that the scout was talking about, looking at that level. And, you know, so I think we're kind of banking on that type of stuff, and we just have to actually see it with our own eyes and in person when it actually happens. So we don't really have any reason to believe it won't happen, but that's something that I'm going to be looking for, because you really need guys like Colin and Cam and Trent Noah, especially if he's going to be, you know, a 40% 3-point shooter. You know, can he be able to actually keep himself on the floor as well? So again, not really major concerns or anything, but just things that I guess, like they were saying, just we'll be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say about like keeping the mouths fed being my concern, because like I don't think there's a selfish player on this team. Like I don't think there's somebody that's like going to get, you know, throwing a temper tantrum because he didn't get enough shots or touches or whatever. But I do wonder if there's like a spazziness with Pope that he's going to look at the bench and go, ooh, Trent's the perfect thing that I need right now. Oh, well, actually, I think Colin right now. And we're going to almost get into that, like, we're doing too much mixing and matching and not kind of finding continuity and guys that are playing well together, finding the winning lineup, the winning rotation. I do wonder if Pope almost has too many toys to play with to be like, I just don't know which one to use. Or, you know, I know there's a defensive lineup. I know there's a shooting lineup. I know there's, you know, the most physical lineup or whatever. You can go, you know, most skilled lineup, the most versatile lineup. There's a little bit of everything on this team, as we talked that scout saying, you know, it's like Noah's Ark. You have 2 of everything. That's a great thing. But what's the winning lineup? What is the group that just plays super, super well together? As Pope said, it's been basically the same white team and blue team the entirety of the fall and you know, kind of coming out of the summer. Should we be switching those up a little bit more? And yeah, that's the one concern. Again, like kind of playing off everybody else. I don't have concerns about how good this team is. I think there's plenty of talent. I think they have plenty of all of the above, but can they find that chemistry and the solution of, oh, this is our go-to group? As Spencer was saying, like, hey, who's the go-to guy that you could just dump it off in the post and score? Who is the guy that we just kind of lean on? Is it going to be Ortega to just kind of recreate the Oklahoma magic?